again. Hasn't even been a full week since Game 1 versus them Packers and Cheeseheads. But whoa, what a show Seattle and the NFL put on here. Seahawks 1-0. Welcome 12s, 12th man, 12th lady, and Hawks Nation around the world. This is your show, 12 for 12s, with your host, Paul Beyer, little old me. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'll tell you, I don't know how I can come down from the high I'm on, but I'm up there. I'm up there, and it is something special. Seahawks take care of business. Game 1, opening night, kickoff special, NBC, the whole gang, Al and Chris, that crazy grin Chris Collinsworth has. Yeah, it creeps me out. Kind of like the clown in Poltergeist, if you know what I mean. It just creeps me out. But anyways, I digress. Soundgarden, boy, I would have liked to have seen more Soundgarden. You know, Pharrell, that's all well and good, but Soundgarden is the goods, and boy, oh boy, did they put on a show before the game. Just the whole spectacle down there at the Clink North parking lot, around the stadium, Pioneer Square. I know everybody that was there just said it was just unbelievable, and it was a long, fun, crazy day. But I'll tell you what, after watching the Seahawks physically dominate the Packers last Thursday, I feel like I've been suffering from some withdrawals. I'm literally salivating, waiting for this upcoming Sunday to get here. The Seahawks played great, but ironically, in part, they clearly can play better. This is a team that's just getting started, and I'll tell you, has multiple weapons on both sides of the ball. I know depth is a big question, which we'll get into tonight, regarding especially the defense that we're addressing at this point in time, defensive backfield. The anticipation really for this upcoming week now is already killing me against the Chargers down in sunny San Diego. It's time. It's football season, and we had to wait these little mini bye weeks like we have going right now. It's just extra time. But there are tons and tons of things to talk about. Obviously, talking about this matchup, I'm going to be joined, first of all, by Stephen Hwang from Bolts from the Blue with SB Nation down in Charger Land. Stephen covers them, and he will help with myself analyze the game from their perspective and talk about what we should expect in this upcoming showdown. Also, I am going to be giving you the latest, as you always know, Hawks news on both my Quick Takes and Hawks 12 segments. Additionally, we've got a very special two-part commentary tonight, the first time I've done this. The first part will discuss how Seattle uses every opportunity to test their merit and ultimately improve themselves. And the second part, well, it's going to be my own personal take on this Ray Rice sham, as I'm calling it. Even though it's not Seahawks related, I've got some pretty strong feelings about this story, and one which I think is a little different from anything you've heard so far. I hope you enjoy it and can hopefully benefit from hearing my perspective on this. But first, let's go ahead and jump right into Quick Takes. There are a lot of things to discuss and hopefully keep all the 12s out there up to speed on. And again, thank you for joining me. My gosh, this show wouldn't be what it is without y'all. So again, everyone that's listening also not only live but on demand, thank you so much for being and participating on 12 for 12s. First of all, the NFLPA is voting today on the new drug policy, which will affect, they expect will affect a number of players. Two big names that are currently dealing with a drug suspension are Josh Gordon and Wes Welker. Now, for most people, we're talking about fantasy sports here, okay? The people that are listening to this show, you know, your Denver or Cleveland are your teams. But I think there's a couple of multiple little things that kind of come together in a storm here, kind of a superstorm, and that is that you've got obviously what's happening with the Ray Rice situation, the battery, and trust me, there are many, many other people that are having issues with the NFL on the battery, women's abuse, and so forth. I mean, Greg Hardy from the Carolina Panthers, he's already been found guilty. I mean, there's multiple cases. And now the NFLPA is voting on this, accepting this new drug policy. Some are saying that it might actually not go through. And again, the vote has not been announced yet, so we don't know where that stands. But the point is ultimately that we might see some of these players' suspensions lifted, that's what they've said, or drastically reduced. So a player like Josh Gordon, who had a full year suspension, he might be back in a few games. So something to look at and look out for. Pro Football Focus Week 1 grades. And this is something I thought I'd go through on the quick take segment. Again, something I found very interesting. And it's just, again, how Pro Football Focus, who really analyzes kind of the sabermetrics of the game, the very specific stats, measuring them against one another, weighting them in a scale, using obviously those big words like algorithms. They have figured out who, and they rank obviously based on their statistics, the players. So let's just go through a quick rundown of the Seattle Seahawks and how they performed. Marshawn Lynch, first of all, obviously had a big game, 110 yards, 20 carries, 2 touchdowns, 2 touchies. And he ended up ranking second overall with all running backs. I mean, just a strong, solid night for Marshawn. Had that 1 catch reception for, I think, 14 yards. So overall, beast mode was in full effect. The only guy that did better was Le'Veon Bell, who's going to be serving his own suspension here shortly for smoking pot on his way to the airport to leave on a charter plane, to go to a preseason game with his buddy LeGarrette Blount. Those guys are just pieces of work. But regardless, Le'Veon still had a number 1 ranking there for the week. Now, Russell Wilson and his really efficient day, and again, I'll get into some of these numbers later when I talk about breaking down the game. But Russell Wilson obviously putting out what I could see as just a perfect game, really just a perfect game all the way around, over 100 passer rating. He ranked 19th, so you can get an idea of how that kind of goes in with how Pro Football Focus and how they look at numbers. They actually ranked him 19th. It's just crazy to think that he was the 19th ranked quarterback last week. Again, don't put a lot of weight in these. I think it's more interesting to look at. Percy Harvin ranked 18th for wide receivers overall. Again, just an outstanding day overall. Justin Britt, which I think is an important person to look at, the rookie, to see how he's getting there. But this is really a fantastic. He ranked 7th overall for all offensive tackles. And that goes to show you that, and even Russell Okung, who's an all-pro, Pro Bowler, Russell Okung finished 16th this week. So you can see Justin Britt really tested out well. He was solid. And that, my friends, is showing his ability to absorb the system under Tom Cable, but also grow into his position. This guy's only going to get better. Again, a rookie, first time out, first professional game for 4 quarters against ones. He did fantastic. And against good ones in that, and Julius Peppers and Clay Matthews. Max Unger ranked number 2 for all centers, so Maxie had a great game. And the 2 guards, which we've obviously discussed at length, James Carpenter and J.R. Sweezy, not the greatest numbers here. James ranked 32nd overall, and Sweez 53rd overall. But they both were just outstanding on their run blocks. And, again, this was a minus run blocking grade for Sweezy at minus 2.4. I don't get that. Zach Miller, 4th among tight ends, so just, again, a very solid game for him. On the defensive side of the ball, Cliff Averill, 2nd among the 4-3 defensive ends, and Michael Bennett was 3rd. So both those guys did a fantastic job. Obi Schofield, 14th, again, for 4-3 defensive ends. Interestingly enough, the interior defensive line did not rank very well. Kevin Williams, 20th. Jordan Hill, 43rd. Brandon Mebane, 51st. So, you know, when you really look at this, you think, well, geez, the LOB had to just been off the charts, right? I mean, Richard Sherman didn't even get a throw at him. Well, that actually doesn't help you in these schematics and these formulas. So Richard Sherman ended up ranking 33rd, and I guess he got downgraded because they said he did not make a good enough tackle on the one tackle he did make. Jeremy Lane ended up 44th. I thought he actually played a very good game. Marcus Burley, 51st. Byron Maxwell, 58th, who was all over the place, as we know, being thrown at 14 times. And, you know, getting into the backfield further, Earl Thomas, 14th among safeties, and Cam Chancellor, 47th. I mean, that's just crazy talk. Cam had 11 tackles in the game, and I think he was involved, or they said he should have had 3 more tackles. But Earl missed an interception, which probably counted against him, which we'll talk about a little later. Linebackers, Bobby Wagner ranked 16th among middle linebackers. K.J. Wright 16th on 4-3 outside linebackers. So you can see that, again, how these numbers relate to how these guys really played are usually a lot different. So sometimes you got to look at – I like sabermetrics. I like looking at these, but I also have to look away from them on certain instances. The eye test does do a little bit better than what these numbers speak. Power rankings from everyone you can mention have been already out and published today. Basically, you're looking at the Hawks ranking first in most. Some of the more scientific models, they're not ranking first, and that usually has to do with sample size. Whether it's the Detroit game, Detroit actually ranked first on the Hawk Blogger list today. The Seahawks were actually fifth. So some of these scientific models just need more of a sample size to really take it into account and create more of a true story. But overall, we all know the Seahawks are right there. An interesting story had come out, and I just wanted to give you my take on this, but the Flynn over Wilson debate, essentially the Seahawks had mentioned in 2012 or said to someone that they were wanting Matt Flynn to win that battle with Russell Wilson. They did not want it to go the other way, and when it did, they went with it, but it was not something they had wished for. And so when you take that into account, of course that's the way they felt. They just paid the guy, $14 million somehow, with bonuses to come here. Of course, it's an investment. I mean, that's why they said that. So I don't take it any more than that. Obviously, Pete Carroll's model and his feelings about how and where he puts his lineups together, his teams together, is based on the competition mantra. Obviously, that proved to be the case because look at what happened. Russell Wilson became our quarterback. And for any of those like myself that watched every single one of those games, analyzing them myself, it was clear how well Russell Wilson played. I mean, Flynn played well, but Russell Wilson played that much better, okay? The Hawks are coming off of what I call a mini bye week, and so everyone, even though we have these games, it seems like there's more than a full week apart because we play on Thursdays. Sometimes those short weeks actually are pretty good for these guys. It gives them an extra rest period. So coming off of a preseason, a long preseason, a long bunch of practices, now having a couple extra days off, I think this is going to actually be a very good thing for the team. They obviously have the Thanksgiving game with San Francisco down at tight-fitting Jeans Stadium in San Francisco, or actually it's San Jose, or better yet, in Palo Alto, right? Isn't that it's up there in little sun, you know what I'm saying, Silicon Valley. But the point here I'm getting at is that the bye situation with having the early bye in our fourth week, I don't think it's going to hurt us as much as we thought. I think it's going to be a positive thing with some of these Thursday games that we have and Monday games that we're going to be able to get enough spacing and rest in. And I think this first one out of the gate was actually a very good thing. So these guys are going to get well. And we got some guys who got to get better. I mean, not just Jeremy Lane, who's now going to be out for 9 weeks, or 8 weeks, I should say, but also the important one, which we've talked about, and that is Daryl Simon. We're really depleted now at the defensive back position, and we're having to bring guys in from practice squads and so forth. So I'll get into all that a little later, but the point is that some of these bye weeks, and I shouldn't say mini bye weeks is what I'm getting at, and some of these nighttime games, Thursday, Monday night games, I think actually it's going to benefit us here in the long run. All right, let's get into opening commentaries. Got a lot to get into. Again, Stephen Hwang from Bolts from the Blue will be joining me here a little bit after the bottom of the hour to talk San Diego Chargers. So get ready for that, 12s. All right, opening commentary. My first part is going to be called Test to Improve. There's been no doubt that at first, second, and even 15th look, the Seahawks have a very tough schedule. To the layman, that would scare the holy living you-know-what out of you as you prepare to defend a Super Bowl title. If you watch NFL Network, ESPN, or just read the headlines from highlights from all the daily Hawks news on 12 for 12s, plug, ... or that's even been 9 years since New England. So the point I get at is everyone's saying that there's a 0% chance or a very unlikely chance that the Seahawks can repeat. New England did it 9 years ago. 9 years ago in 04 and 05. And to be honest, when you think about that, They make it sound like it's 40 years ago. It's not. It's only 9. I mean, the media is making a complete joke out of this quote-unquote, chase of a impossible golden fleece. They need to really start to address the subject for what it is, and that is that it's not easy to do, especially in the salary cap era, but it can be done. Heck, the New England Patriots won 3 out of 4 championships back then. The Seattle Seahawks take every negative connotation, every opportunity to be seen, and every comment that challenges their manhood as a chip they can use to motivate and ultimately dominate their opponents. They don't just want to win, they want to destroy. But they look at these slights, practices, and games as a chance to get better. It sounds so cliched, but it is real. I used to want the media to talk about the Hawks every chance that I could get. I wanted them to get some respect. But I'll be honest with you now, I don't care. I know where to find my news for this team. As far as I'm concerned, please, NFL Network, please, ESPN, please keep doing what you're doing, media. It drives these guys to be better. It drives them to constantly improve with every test they take. After watching Game 1, my mouth was wide open. With all the hoopla of opening day, Seattle Seahawks had all the pressure. I think they had all the pressure. And it really did. But they don't look at it like that. They look at it as the greatest day of their lives. The one game, one day, one play at a time. The mantra has so engulfed these players. They fully believe in it. And when you believe 100%, it becomes real. So here we are, the next test on the calendar this upcoming Sunday versus the upstart Chargers, who lost a very close game, versus the Cardinals. A team, I think, that is very talented and good in the AFC. Will definitely compete in that AFC for being one of the top teams. It's a fantastic way to continue this challenge Seahawks have created and started and started to journey themselves through. It's their idea of testing themselves in order to find out who is the best. This team really would have it no other way. All right, that's the first part of my commentary this evening. Now let's get to my second, and the Ray Rice fiasco. I've had my ear to the drum on this story since it began. I mentioned it here on 12 for 12s in passing and talked more in depth about it on our Double Overtime show, the flagship show of this network. The point is that the story has mostly focused on Ray Rice and his behavior, what he did in hitting his now wife, Janae, in that elevator in Atlantic City. The initial video that came out was so disgusting, it made me cringe. Watching Ray's mannerisms as he dragged a completely unconscious woman over the threshold of an elevator, never quite actually getting her completely out of the elevator. It was deplorable. He almost looked like he was being put out, having to handle the mess. He looked like he could care less. He was picking up her shoes and her purse like it might be a piece of garbage you dropped on the kitchen floor. At the same time, there was a report from multiple sources, TMZ included, Chris Mortensen and of ESPN, and even the mighty Peter King of Monday Morning Quarterback, that there was, in fact, another angle of the event, that they had talked to people, multiple people, who had seen it, that talked about the event happening inside. They actually talked 2 months ago about what took place inside that elevator. There were multiple accounts, every single one backing up the other. The point I'm getting at here is that we knew 2 months ago what happened in that elevator. The press knew. Some of them even saw the freaking video. But yet none of them, not Mort, not Peter King, not Fox Network, not NBC, not CBS, and definitely not the NFL Network, did not one of them call out the NFL about the actions that took place in the elevator. Everyone was talking about no evidence. It's like all of a sudden now in this world, you can't go on what you could see taking place and then put together events around it. Everything has to be seen, has to be completely documented perfectly. You have to have an actual video. If you don't see it, well, then it didn't happen. And we all know that's not how things work. There's evidence. You can see how things progressively go through. You don't have to have everything on tape to understand what took place. Well, in this case, they did. And yet they still didn't act on it. Now, we could all talk about the quote-unquote penalty Roger Goodell came out with at first, and it's really quite disturbing to even get into the two-game thing. Whatever. I give him kudos, though, for changing his mind about the overall policy. But ultimately, all this is a smokescreen, and that's what I think everyone needs to understand. This is a smokescreen. They never went out, and this gets back to the press. The media never went out and either got their hands on the video, except for TMZ, and including the NFL, in doing any type of proper investigation. But they never talked about what took place, which is Ray Rice hit his wife, knocked her out cold, unconscious. And the reason is, and this is what's so disturbing to me, and this is the ultimate point of this whole conversation here I'm having with you. They did not, and this goes for Mort, Peter King, Adam Schefter, all of the quote-unquote ESPN or NFL insiders. None of them wanted to bite the hand that fed them, and that's the NFL. They had to cover for them in a way. As much as they eviscerated them, they would never go to that place that would ultimately take them down. The truth is, these guys don't cover the NFL. They report what the NFL wants them to report. This is why when you see them all out there trying to cover their butts now, saying, I can't believe nobody saw the video, it's because you didn't want to see the video, or if you actually did and you're now lying about it, potentially Roger Goodell or someone that works for you, you didn't go find it and then show it to the world. And this goes back to the media. Why weren't you guys out there? Why do we have to wait for TMZ to do this? This was 2 months ago. But even worse, nobody, us, the media, the players, the NFL, looked at the evidence. Like I talked about before, they looked at what happened. You could see what happened. He admitted to hitting her. Ray Rice knocked Janae Rice out cold in an elevator, knocked her out cold. And I'm telling you right now, folks, men, don't put your hands on women like that. If you do, you are scum of the earth. He hit his fiancée, now girlfriend, so hard she was out cold. We all knew this. So why didn't we raise the stink then? Why did we have to wait to see it? Here's the nail in the coffin, folks. Because we all wanted it to go away. All of us. We wanted to get back to our fantasy teams. We wanted to get back to the season that was still right around the corner. We wanted to move on after our initial moment of outrage. Heck, look at how the Ravens fans welcomed Rice back to practice. Clapping, standing ovation. It was disgusting. So as society, can we stop trying to move on from false outrage that we really don't care about, and actually so we really don't care? This high technology environment that we're now in has buried us. We don't take 2 seconds to actually care about what's really happening around us. We just want to feel the moment and move on. You don't learn from mistakes unless you address them. Otherwise, they'll happen again. And you're seeing that in the NFL. They've never addressed these issues. They've never addressed how they handle this. Either their players beating people or murdering people. There's people that have murdered people that have played again. Murdered. That's what we've been seeing in the NFL. There are 50-plus open cases of abuse, battery of some type now in the NFL. But, of course, we don't talk about those. We're talking about the one that's on tape. Stop, people. Please stop for a second and see what's happening around you. When you do that, you can learn. and maybe even hold some of the monsters that hold all the cards and power accountable for what they're doing. I'm not saying everyone is bad, and I'm not saying that everyone is good. I'm saying that bad things happen. We should all stop and address it and put a close to it and make sure it never happens again. Most importantly, the media, who's supposedly there to act as the information gatherers for us, hey, do your job. Don't cover for people. NFL Network works for the NFL. If you actually think you're getting real news from them, you're crazy. It's called propaganda, folks. But that doesn't mean we can't wake up. It's up to us to do our own homework and not remain in the mindless mob. Because ultimately, that's where all these power brokers want us to remain. They want us to be mindless and go to wherever the shiny little object is. It's as much our fault that this happened as it is the media. Because it's our job, using social networking and so forth, to wake them up and let them know what is and isn't acceptable. We're all part of this, unfortunately. Everyone should be held accountable, and that includes ourselves. I really do hope that we all wake up. Okay, take a quick commercial, come back. Actually, I'm not going to go to break. I'm going to go ahead and start the Hawks 12, but I do want to give a quick shout-out to our sponsor, Sam's Tavern. Heading downtown to watch a Mariners game or just meet up with some friends? Well, think about hitting Sam's Tavern on 1st and Pike in Pike Place. The home of the Red Robin Hamburger, great eats, great beer, good beer, awesome people. Take a load off and enjoy your time at Sam's Tavern. You'll be glad you did. Check out that Bloody Mary Bacon masterpiece that I always talk about. I'm salivating as I speak about it right now. A burger attached on top to a Bloody Mary. You can't do much better than that. Tell them the OOT sent you. You never know what might happen. Maybe even give you a free hat out of the deal. I don't know. Just saying. Sam's Tavern, down on 1st and Pike in Pike Place. Hit them up next time. All right, I'm going to go to a quick break here, give a quick shout-out to my sponsor, and then we'll come right back with the guest this evening, Stephen Hwang from Bolts from the Blue. Can't wait to talk to Stephen about the Chargers, get up to speed, especially after that horrible, tough loss they had last night. Get his thoughts on that real quick as well. But let's talk Enlighten, the next big thing. I found the next big thing, Enlighten Strips. This is an amazing product that I personally use, from helping provide an energy boost during the busy day or just add recovery, electrolytes while you're working out. Enlighten Strips work. I use the sleep strips every night after taking the prescribed dose. I read for about an hour, and so it takes a little bit of time, but after that, about 45 minutes later or so, you really do feel relaxed and ready for bed. Additionally, they have strips for appetite suppression, providing antioxidants. I'll tell you, I wouldn't tell you about this, folks, if it didn't work. No sugar, carbs, or calories. Go to enlighten.com, ENLYTEN.com, and I'll tell you, take a look at them, find what works for you, because they work for me. Obviously, Enlighten, they are the next big thing. All right, we're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come right back with Stephen Hwang. This is 12 for 12's Radio. Your host, Paul Beyer. I will see you in just a second.
Green and white, total domination wins the fight. He's taking control, the one that we trust. The name is Russell Wilson and he's dangerous. We're bigger, faster, stronger, louder than yours. We want the ball, hell yeah, we're gonna score. Hold on to the rock, cause intensity's hot. You know the 12th man will be rocking the night. Who's gonna hit ya? The Seahawks. Who's gonna run ya? The Seahawks. Who's gonna blitz ya? The Seahawks. What's important now? Win, win, win. Back ya? The Seahawks. Who's coming at ya? The Seahawks. Who's gonna smack ya? What's important now? Win, win, win. We on a mission to prove we're the best. This year we're gonna win the NFC West. We running the ball, we setting the tone. He's Marshawn Lynch, but we call him Beast Mode. Our defense is a temple of doom. Boy, you're going down, there's a legion of boom. First down, move the chains, now we're taking you out. Team up, go high.
again, thank you for joining us here on 12 Patrols Radio. Your host, Paul Beyer. I am now joined by Stephen Hwang from Bolts from the Blue. That's the SB Nation Chargers affiliate. Obviously do great work there. I love the name, Bolts from the Blue. It's very original. And Stephen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm all right. It's around 10 where I'm at. How about yourself?
Oh, geez, you're on the west. Are you on the East Coast or Midwest?
Yeah, I'm on the East Coast right now.
Oh boy. Well, again, thank you for joining us. We got to get you to bed soon, right? School night, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, you are a Chargers fan on the East Coast, so that's interesting. But in the midst of all this, why don't you go ahead and tell the 12s here to listen to our show a little bit about yourself, how you're a Chargers fan on the East Coast, and kind of a little bit about how you write and how you got associated with Bolts from the Blue.
I mean, I'm only a Chargers fan on the East Coast because I go to school in the East Coast, but I actually grew up in Los Angeles, and I have a lot of Raider fans around me and a lot of Chargers fans. But well over a decade ago, I was watching a little bit of LaDainian Tomlinson play his game, and I was just like, wow, this guy is just beyond amazing. So I just kept following the Chargers and kept following them, and after a while, I became cemented in the Chargers culture.
So in all that, how did you get associated with Bolts from the Blue?
Well, at first it's all thanks to my friend Kevin Skeever, who writes for the Canal Street Chronicles. Oh, that's the Saints affiliate for SB Nation.
Mm-hmm.
He first got me my job at Cover 32, and then he moved over to SB Nation, and he actually recommended me to the managing editors over there, and one thing led to another, and thanks to him, I actually landed this gig with Bolts from the Blue, and it's been a blessing.
So let's get into kind of the off season for your Chargers. How has it been, and what's your read on how they kind of were set up going into the season?
I mean, I was really surprised at the positives that we had in the off season. We re-signed everybody we needed to re-sign. We cut Clary's ridiculous contract to $1.8 million, which was thankfully gave us enough room to maneuver, and we signed Brandon Flowers to a very cheap contract. Thankfully, thank you to the Kansas City Chiefs for misusing Brandon Flowers to lower his value. And if you saw him yesterday, he was brilliant for us. And we signed Donald Brown, which gave us some interior moves. And thank you to the Indianapolis Colts for not using the zone blocking scheme, which Donald Brown is supposed to run in. So I'd like to especially thank the Colts and the Chiefs for misusing their personnel so that we get the guys that actually fit our personnel perfectly on the cheap.
I mean, you guys have done that even with Danny Woodhead. I mean, the little tiny guy. That's just amazing that he's been such a productive NFL player. Based on where the team is now, how would you describe your level of excitement as this Chargers team now goes into the season?
I mean, being a Chargers fan for over a decade, you become kind of a cynic. I always say being a Chargers fan is like being a masochist because they kind of bring you up with this level of hope, with the level of talent that they have, and then all of a sudden, like you saw with yesterday's game, they crumble at the last second. But especially with Mike McCoy coming in, his second year as a coach, and a lot of people are starting to say this phrase, I believe in Tom Telesco, because if you saw the draft pick that he had, all the moves that he's been doing, it's perfect for our team, and it's conducive to a winning environment. Everybody seems like they've bought into the system that McCoy and Telesco are running. So I haven't been this excited for a Chargers team since about 2006 when we went all the way to the AFC Championship game.
That was the Jets, if I remember correctly. No, what am I saying? That was the New England, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
When Marlon McCree had that interception and fumbled our Super Bowl chances down the drain.
Yep. All he had to do was lay down.
I know. I don't understand what goes through your head when you're getting that interception. You're up by that much. You got the interception. Just go down and run the ball. But apparently he wanted to play hero ball, and Marlon McCree is now down as one of the worst players in Chargers lore. So he got that going for him.
Which isn't nice, as they say. Well, let's hop into your offense here, and obviously your offense revolves around Phillip Rivers. who appears to, in my opinion, based on what I saw yesterday, to be much more involved in kind of the play calling on the field. The announcers even remissed regarding that, he's kind of becoming more of a Peyton Manning type, or trying to attempt to with Mike McCroy obviously making the calls as your coach. But the point is that they're changing things on the field on the fly. Why don't you just, based on where Philip Rivers' talents are, which are obviously tremendous, how do you see that fitting into how this offense is progressing?
I mean, Frank Reich, our new offensive coordinator, is trying to implement more of a hurry-up offense that does give Philip Rivers more control over our offense. But if you saw, throughout preseason, if you saw throughout our game all yesterday, besides the third quarter, we were very, very messy in, just getting to the line, getting the plays off, and just getting everybody in position to run the plays. And I think it has more to do with all the injuries that we have, all the time that everybody's missed, with Malcolm Floyd losing time. We just lost Hardwick, and, Clary was supposed to be our starting guard, but he's out for the season. So it's just a new offensive system that's putting way too much on a very, very young unit that haven't really played together that long. Like a hurry-up offense is conducive to a quarterback like Peyton Manning, who knows everything on the field. But then all the players, like Denver, the team that they had when Peyton Manning came in, they've been playing together for a good 2-3 years. But the team that we have right now, we're just too young. We're just too inexperienced. We're just too not disciplined to run this offense. So I'm still a little very hesitant to support the no-huddle offense that we're calling right now.
And that kind of goes into my next question, which, some of the injuries that took place on the O-line, and is it just to, before we get there, is it Hardwick? Are we for sure? How bad is that ankle injury that he suffered? I didn't get the final word on that.
There hasn't been any final word. A lot of people are saying 4 to 6 weeks, but after I saw what happened, I would say a 4 to 6 weeks is a good timetable for him. But Hopefully he's not injured beyond that, because Ornberger is not the greatest center in the world, and Hardwick, of course, has been the center of our line for a good part of the decade.
So with some of these injuries, and obviously Hardwick being one of them, who I think was important for you, it's always important to be strong up the middle. One of the strengths of this Seattle team is our front four, that rotation we have, starting with Michael Bennett, Brandon Meebane, Tony McDaniel, and Cliff Averill. How do you see your offensive line unit matching up against our front four?
Oh, man, that is not going to be pretty at all. Because we have this offensive guard named Johnny Troutman, who is frustrating beyond all belief, because I haven't seen a game that I've watched was it the game tape of Johnny Troutman without me wanting to just chuck my computer at a wall screaming, how do you have a starting job in the NFL as a guard? The reason why Troutman's starting right now is because our rookie, Chris Watt, he was injured throughout the preseason, but he's healthy now, so I think Watt is going to be playing against you guys. But with how I saw King Dunlap, with how I saw DJ Fluker especially struggled mightily yesterday. So I think we're going to have a little bit of struggles against you guys, because running the football is an integral part of our team. And yesterday, obviously, we did not have the strength up the middle to run the ball, or we just didn't do it at all.
Yeah, I think rushing 52 yards total. When I saw that, when I was doing my analysis today, I was like, that's not going to cut it. You got to run the ball against Seattle to beat us. You have to establish that running game, and even if you get over 100 yards, it's still not a guarantee. But that's something that most teams that have actually competed and brought their level of play to where we are at, that's always the telling card. So now, with all that said, there are other weapons here. I mean, Philip Rivers is a great quarterback. I mean, some people have said some bad things about him. I personally thought he played fantastic last year, and I think he's even after a rough start here, I thought he made some bad choices. I mean, there was that fourth down that was early on in the first half where I thought he missed. He threw it short, but he missed a wide open. I can't remember who. I think it might have been Floyd on a post, and he was really wide open, had beaten his man. But why don't you tell the 12s and the people that listen to my show, the Seahawks fans here, a little bit about your offensive weapon group, Ryan Matthews and so forth, and give us an idea of how they are going to maybe play into this game.
I mean, we have so many weapons. Like you said, we have Danny Woodhead, we have Ryan Matthews, who are great running backs that can catch, on the flats or just a check down. We have two great tight ends in Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates, and obviously last year Keenan Allen just tore up the league. Michael Floyd came back healthy, but the most frustrating thing is Frank Reich doesn't use any of them. He doesn't know how to use Woodhead. He only targeted Green once in the entire game, and I'm sitting here wondering, you have all these weapons that Phillip Rivers can utilize, but he doesn't use them at all. And the thing that frustrated me the most about especially our running game is, total, our running backs had 23 touches. That's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to total 23 touches, especially in our offense where we just dink and dunk and eat up the clock. So as much as I love all the weapons that we have, with the offense that Frank Reich is running and the inability to get the ball to our weapons, I don't think you guys have. I mean, until he learns how to utilize them, I don't think there's much of worry about using them. Especially because the funny part is we have a guy like Ladarius Green, who's a 6'6", tight end who can get down the field, and he catches mostly anything that goes his way. But we don't throw to him. But apparently Eddie Royal, who gives up on routes, who can't run to save his life, and who has hands made of stone, gets 6 targets during the game. Those are the kinds of times when I'm just looking at the game wondering, what's happened,
Well, you're doing a great job, by the way, making me feel like this is going to be a walkover. So,
I'm not saying by all means this is going to be a walkover, because we're just talking about our offense now. If we were talking about our defense, that would be another story.
Okay, well that brings us to that point, which I think let's move on and let's talk your defense now. Obviously, some of the well-known players, Brandon Flowers, Manti Te'o. We obviously had the ability to see you guys here in the preseason. Ones didn't obviously play a whole game or even a full quarter. But just based on where this defense was last year, 23rd overall, how has this unit improved?
I mean, the defense, you can look at the 23rd overall, but I think the more important stat is 31st overall on DVOA. And last year's defense was it was ugly because we lost Melvin Ingram, we lost Dwight Freeney. We had nothing of a pass rush. And John Pagano is not exactly the most creative play caller, in all honesty. He gets way too conservative with his defense, and you saw that yesterday during the fourth quarter. He just played prevent a lot of the time. But you saw a lot of our young guys step up yesterday. If you saw Jerry Atauchi just wreck havoc all over the field yesterday on special teams where he stopped guys from getting past the 15-yard line to strip sacking Carson Palmer that set up another score. Jerry Atauchi's, he's showing exactly why we drafted him in the second round with all his pass rushing techniques. Another young guy that I love is Jason Verrett. And everybody was – I don't understand why everybody was talking about how Larry Fitzgerald didn't have a catch all throughout until the fourth. But Jason Verrett was the one going one-on-one with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, that's Larry Fitzgerald. That's one of the most reliable receivers in the history of the league. And a rookie cornerback that was injured throughout the preseason is locking him down. I think that says a lot about Jason Verrett. And Corey Liuget, obviously one of our best defensive players. He's a great run stopper, good pass rusher. Love what he brings to the game. And the thing that surprised me the most, and this was a player I was hypercritical of last year, I just rained down hell on him, it was Manti Te'o, because Manti's strong suit was always in the pass game. He was good at reading the quarterback's eyes, understanding route movements. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but he'd always be there. But yesterday he showed that, yeah, I know how to read blocks. Yeah, I know exactly how progressions work, and he had a lot of stops on the ball. He was always around the ball, and that really surprised me about Manti. And the thing I'm not too worried about our defense is we have this guy named Richard Marshall starting over last year we had undrafted free agent named Jaleel Adae, who played phenomenal for us in the latter half of the season, but he's out with an injury. But I think he'll come back for you was it to play you guys, crossing both fingers. But Richard Marshall played for the game, and I think our managing editor John Gennaro said it best. When Richard Marshall is on the field, it means that this game already has too much Richard Marshall in it. So hopefully Richard Marshall doesn't see the field ever again. But besides that, Brandon Flowers, like I said, a lot of people were criticizing him on a long game by Larry Fitzgerald on a 22-yard gain that gave them momentum. But in all honesty, that was communication problems with Jason Verrett. That was the one mistake that Jason Verrett made. But besides that, Brandon Flowers locked up most of the receivers that he played against. So this defense, I'm telling you, if we didn't have John Pagano as our defensive coordinator, I'm not a big fan of John Pagano. If we didn't have John Pagano as a defensive coordinator, and if we had somebody that had a more, varied pass rushing scheme, because a lot of the times we'd be rushing with three down linemen, and first of all, we don't have our starting 3 nose tackles, and you're throwing in a guy that doesn't really know how to play nose tackle in there, so you're just rushing 3 guys and playing prevent. That's much too conservative. So if John Pagano learns how to be a lot more aggressive with his pass rushing, you saw Dwight Freeney just blow by guys. Apparently he forgot how to tackle, but he'd get to Carson Palmer. He's like that kid that sees the candy and just forgets to just grab it and just runs off. Like Dwight Freeney was just. What?
You see that happen now so much with NFL players, where they'll have a quarterback they should wrap up, or a play, or that they should be able to make a play on, and it's like they lose their feet, and that's something that you see so often in the NFL. Guys lose their feet before actually, they were taught to run through a player, and I think that's part of the problem with some of the tackling technique that we've lost, and you get into really some of these head first situations that have caused a lot of these concussions, but. Moving on, how do you foresee it sounds like you guys got some strengths, and granted, some of them are young, but they are some strengths, and they're players that are going to make this unit better. How do you see them containing, and I think that's probably a good word to use, contain this kind of revamped 3-headed monster Seattle's offense?
First of all, we're going to have to contain Russell Wilson. Obviously, he's a good quarterback. But one of the weaknesses that the Seahawks has been the offensive line. So especially your guards. Your guards are almost as ugly as our guards. So what I'd like to see happen is a lot of interior pass rushing, a lot of A-gap slam. I want to see a lot of stunts by Corey Liuget, just slamming up the middle and just stuffing the middle of the field so that beast mode can't get going, so that Russell Wilson doesn't have time to throw. And obviously you have to watch out for Percy Harpin on the motion to get sweeps. And I think the thing that Melvin Ingram does well is he knows how to contain, like you said, contain the run. Just contain it inside the pocket. Don't let anything get outside, and just get to Russell Wilson. Don't let him scramble, because Russell Wilson is phenomenal when he scrambles. And don't let Russell Wilson get outside the pocket. Contain. The ends just need to contain and just get a lot of interior pass rushing going. Because I think our corners have the ability to hold on, but once you give them time, because that's the brilliance of the Seahawks offense. They give them, it's all about timing. But once you give Marshawn Lynch time, once you give Percy Harvin time, that's when it's scary. So don't give them time. Just get in there and just wreak havoc. That's the only way we're going to stop this Seahawks offense.
What's the size? I think one big thing, because the way our offensive line, we're actually gotten quite better. I want you to remember the names J.R. Sweezy and James Carpenter. They're our two guards. And they have improved a great deal. But just I want you to check them out from your perspective this week. But from a size point, what are your front? Because you guys play a 3-4 with those ends, and they do come up quite a bit. What are the size, kind of generality size of your front seven guys there?
I mean, our down linemen are pretty huge. Corey Liuget's enormous. Ryan Carruthers, if he's healthy, he's enormous too. But I mean, our nose tackle, I forgot his name. He's not exactly built to be a nose tackle. He's like 6'3", I believe 270, which isn't exactly the greatest size for a nose tackle. And I mean, our down linemen are, big bull guys. They're big bull guys, but our linebackers, Butler. Butler is obviously a very strong linebacker. Manti Te'o, he's gotten a lot bigger than people realize. He's gotten a lot thicker. And Melvin Ingram, he's a physical freak of nature. Mm-hmm. So I think size-wise, we match up actually quite well with you guys because we have a great mix of speed and strength. We have speed with Atauchi and Sweeney, and we have strength with Ingram and Legit. So I think with that mix of size and strength and speed, I think we'll match up good with your offensive line.
All right, well, we got a few minutes left here, so let's get to our keys to the game. And the way I do this, Steven, is I'll ask you for your three defensive keys, and then your three offensive, and then I'll respond with the offense. Or I should say, let me back up. You'll do your defense first, I'll do my defense, and then I'll do my offense, and you'll do your offense last, okay? So
yeah.
Go ahead and start with your three defensive keys for the Chargers on stopping the Seattle offense.
First is contain. Don't let anything get outside the tackles. Keep it inside. And the second is get some interior rush in. Just wreak havoc up the middle. Just do everything you can to just contain it inside the tackles because our linebackers are good at cleaning up. And the third thing is watch out for Percy Harvin. Obviously one of the best playmakers in the league. You have to match up with him. I think they'll put our rookie Jason Barrett up against him because not only is Jason Barrett phenomenal at covering, he is a hard hitter. So I believe that the matchup you're going to have to watch is Jason Barrett versus Percy Harvin.
Okay. So my offensive keys for the Seahawks going up against your defense are, one, we need to run the rock. We need to establish our running game. Beast mode is the key. It's our whole offensive beginning point. And I think 90 yards is our kind of number for beast mode. So if he gets over 90 yards, that's a bad thing for you guys. Also, number two, third down efficiency. We were not one of the best third down or red zone teams last year, and that was something we needed to show improvement on. Third down efficiency, we want to be over 50% this game. Anything over 50% for us, we were 6 for 12. We were actually less than that this last game, but over 50% is a positive. Third, Lord mercy, it's Percy. 6+ touches. 6+ touches for Percy Harvin. That's going to be all she wrote. And if that happens, he had 11 this last week. That will spell doom for the Chargers. So moving over to the defensive side, and you'll respond with your offensive keys. Defensively, we need to make Phillip Rivers move from his spots. He got sacked twice, I think, yesterday, if I'm correct. But biggest thing for Phillip, he's got a tremendous ability to get rid of the ball, and quickly. But Phillip Rivers is not a quote-unquote mobile quarterback. He can move if he has to, but he wants to stay in that pocket. So we need to move Phillip Rivers off of his spots. 2, less than 75 yards rushing. Now, whether it's Ryan Matthews or Brown or whoever is getting the rock for you guys, we need to keep you guys to less than 75 yards. Third, keep San Diego under 40% on your third down conversions. So looking at where you guys were at this last game, I think anything under 40% and, league average somewhere around 50, you're doing pretty good. If you can keep you guys under 40% at home, I think that'll be a good thing and allow us to get the W on the road. So what are your offensive keys for the game?
First of all, Phillip Rivers actually didn't get sacked at all yesterday, which is a surprising
thing. Oh, maybe I was reading the wrong column.
Was it Carson Palmer actually got sacked twice yesterday? I think you were reading that one.
There you go. My bad.
Yeah. No, it's fine. But our number one thing is run the ball. I mean, if Phillip Rivers has the second most rushing yards on your team, during the game, that's bad. That's not good, especially with only 10 yards. We have to run the ball. And not just run the ball to the outside, we have to run the ball up the middle, which means hopefully Watt comes in the game. Watt is going to have to step up. Orenberger is going to have to step up. They're all going to have to step up. The second thing is dink and dunk. Stop this 5-7 step drop that Norv tried to do. Stop the downfield stuff that we're doing. Just get it to the quick slant. Just get it to the quick crossing. Do hitches. Do bubble screens. do the things that we were good at last year, and kill time off the clock. And that's my third thing, kill time off the clock. We have to kill clock because we cannot leave the ball in Seattle's hands, because that's how we won games in the latter half of last season. We just killed the clock, we just ate it up, and we didn't let the opposing offense get on the field.
It was apparent to me, based on last year, especially how you ended the year, you were running the ball very, very well. And I wonder if, why can't you guys find that again? Obviously, you didn't have it this first game, but I think your ability to run the ball frees Phillip Rivers up for so much, especially with those weapons he's got on the outside with Keenan Allen now and being his second year in the league, and Floyd and so forth. So, well, Steven, I really appreciate you coming on, even though you're kind of late out there on the East Coast. It's a pleasure. I wish you the best of luck, even though we're on opposite sides of the cheering column this week, but still, your presence here is very appreciated, and have a great season and go from there. But where can people follow you on? I think you're on Twitter, I know that, but if you want to share with everyone, if you want, that's up to you, where they can find you and follow your work.
I mean, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at SHWANG34. And if you want to follow my work, I write for Bolts from the Blue. I do a lot of the film analysis for our crew at Bolts from the Blue.
Awesome. And I have put all of that on my website, 12for12s.com, your links to those. So I'll continue to have those up for you so that my folks can find out more information regarding you and the Chargers. And that's 12for12s as in Sam.com, 12for12s.com. So, Steven, thank you so much for coming on tonight. You have a wonderful night. Get some rest, buddy, and good luck this weekend. I really mean that, okay?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good luck to you guys, too.
Absolutely. Take care, Steven.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks. That was Stephen Hwang from Bolts from the Blue, Chargers affiliate with SB Nation. That was a great, nice little interview there, and I do appreciate him coming on. Follow his work. Again, you can find out everything you need to know about Stephen and Bolts from the Blue on the links on 12for12s.com. Okay, I'm going to go to break here, but when we come back, we'll hop right back into the Hawks 12. Obviously, fun times ahead. We got lots to get to, reviewing the Packers game and getting into what we see ahead. Obviously, we've already talked a little bit about the Chargers, but we'll get into a little bit more of that in a few. So let's go to break here. 12for12s Radio, your host, Paul Beyer, and see you back in just a minute. This is Paul from Double Overtime and the 12for12s radio show. I am proud to announce one of our sponsors, www.stickersnorthwest.com. Don't forget the www. All of us here at Double Overtime Radio are proud to announce our latest sponsor, www.stickersnorthwest.com. Creating some of the stickiest Seahawks, 12s, Mariners, Husky original designs to share with your friends or just your favorite book or folder. Some of the coolest local flair options you can find. Check out www.stickersnorthwest.com and make your purchase today. Don't forget to use promo code PAUL2
2OT and receive 20% off your next purchase. Do it today. You'll be sticky for sure. Again, that's www.stickersnorthwest.com. Remember to spell Stickers Northwest out. And also, when you use the promo code, it's PAUL, the number 2, OT. Now back to the program.
I really like that spot. I don't know why. I just think it's funny. And I wrote it myself, so hey, what do you do? All right, shout-outs for this evening, and I have a fantastic announcement for all of you. This is a surprise, something that I found out just before the show started, but for the second time on the 30th of September, second time in the history of this show, I am going to have Aaron Levine of Q13 Fox Sports, the sports director for Q13, obviously handles the post-game shows on Q13 for the Seahawks. Obviously does a lot of big interviews with all the big players, sees them all the time. Aaron Levine will be my guest on the 30th of September, and we'll obviously get into, it's the bye week, so we'll be able to get into what has happened, what we expect going forward. Very exciting, and it's exciting for the show because Aaron obviously wants to come back. He thought it was a good thing. So I'm really excited to see Aaron and talk to him again. Build the Tip. Well, Build the Tip's initial crowdsourcing campaign is over. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. But that does not mean we are done. We've raised over $32,000, and contributions continue to come in. We are going to get this, and we are going to make it happen. We are just now kind of starting to get together to figure out the next steps in our development. But I want everyone to know you can still give to Build the Tip. And if you haven't already, listen to my recorded statement, Build the Tip recorded statement on my YouTube channel, 12 for 12s. And it really, I think, hopefully explains 8.5 minutes. But I think it will explain everything to you about why this is such an important thing and where the contributors, the inner circle, I guess you could say, of this, where we're all coming from on this. Also, in the sense of how we go through the rest of this week, I think it's important to obviously pay homage to our guest this evening, Stephen Hwang. You can find and follow Stephen on Twitter at SHWANG34, and that's at Twitter, Hwang, HWANG34. And he is a writer on Bolts from the Blue for SB Nation and San Diego Chargers. So please follow him there as well as read his work. They do some great stuff over there. SB Nation, all the guys. Field Goal is obviously one of our primary sources here for the Seahawks Nation. They are the brother, call it the evil brother, I guess. Thank you for all those that have listened to the show this evening, either those that are listening on demand or listening live. I very, very much appreciate all of you. You're the ones that keep this thing happening. Check out past shows, please. Last week's fantastic show with Jacob Westerndorf of Packers Talk Radio Network and his show From the Benches. I really can't tell you how great that was. It was wonderful. Keith Myers the week before that, very well-known sports writer, Seahawk writer, contributor here in the area. And then a couple other past shows I think you should check out. Build the Tip with Chris Bauer and Joe Michaels, Norb Coilly of NorbCamp, second appearance on the show, as well as Jason Coiner, Tim Weaver, Sean Boyle of Discovery Channel talking about American Muscle, Megan Granito, the new contributor to NFLFemale.com, as well as Jamie Nicole, Football Girl. All great guests, all people I think you'd love to hear, even if they're from a few months ago. For all that may be listening, supporting all our shows, we do appreciate it. But in the meantime, on the social sites, please retweet, like, share all of our contents and updates. We do appreciate that. We're just trying to spread the word, let people know what's going on Double Overtime as well as 12for12s.com. Thanks to Phoebe, Rachel, Joseph, Tina, the team at Double OT, from Tim to Barry, all of you. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate all the help that you have given me and what we've been able to do here with the network. Again, let's keep this thing growing. Shout out to the fellows down in Texas at the subway that listen to my show and all the rest of the Double OT shows. every week. Hope you guys are having a good one. And I'm currently, again, getting everything as well done as I can on the website, updating. So if you see from time to time old articles posted, just know that that's me doing a cleanup and getting everything up to speed. Obviously, tons and tons of information on there on 12for12s.com. Make sure you get the latest from there. I am sending out updates on Twitter 3 to 4 times a day, and I do a big update on Facebook once a day, usually around noon. Hope you get those and hope you enjoy them. Please share, retweet, and like, and all that neat stuff. Again, the show itself, all of our shows on OOT as 12 for 12s can be found on Stitcher, Xbox, Zune, as well as iTunes and TuneIn Radio. The one thing we'd ask is on iTunes and TuneIn Radio, if you could be so kind as to rate and review our shows. It helps us tremendously in being noticed by others. So all you got to do is rate and review. Just remember that on iTunes and TuneIn Radio. Tune in to OOT tomorrow with Tim Berry and myself. We'll preview Hawks game number 2 against the Chargers. Obviously get into the Mariners wild card chances and hunt, as well as we kind of finish up these games this night. We got right now the Mariners are down 1-0 with a runner on second, 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th. So things do continue here in fluid time, and hopefully the M's can make a run. So here we go. Go M's. Good night, and thanks again for everyone listening. 12 for 12's radio, hosted by me, truly, the one guy, Paul Beyer. I do appreciate all of you. And again, fantastic show. Thanks to Stephen Hwang from Bolts in the Blue for joining us. As we always do, we got to finish the show with a little Iron Maiden. And tonight, there are some. I went around. I didn't know what to do. I was kind of in between on some songs, but I found a good one. I found a real good one, and I think one that you'll enjoy. Again, this is 12 Patrols Radio, your host Paul Beyer, signing off. Up the irons. Let's go run into the hills.
He took our game for his
And I think that's ultimately my advice to the San Diego Chargers. Run for the hills, because the Seahawks, the big bad Seahawks, are coming to town. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Thanks again for joining me on 12 Patrols Radio. Your host, Paul Beyer. I will see you next week. Go Seahawks. Or really what I should say is go Hawks, because that's what you're supposed to say. So why did I say go Seahawks? I'm not sure. But, hey, go Hawks. See you next week.